Hey, this is Judah Mantel for SceneForge Studio, and in this video I'm going to go over the Mac version that is now available. It's still in beta, just like every other release of SceneForge, but it is now available for anyone to download, regardless of if you've contacted me previously to get access. So, to download it, you can use the regular download button in the dashboard. You can choose to download the Mac or PC version, and once you have that, you can open up the PKG file that you will download. Now, it essentially, if you're not familiar, the installer that is an equivalent to the Windows installer that'll install all the programs and required files for SceneForge. So you can just follow these instructions, read over the license, hopefully accept it, as you'll see here. And yeah, once that's installed, you can just open up the application like normal. So I'm going to close this, and I actually have it open already, just like this. Now, if you are familiar with the PC version, you'll see this looks basically identical, but there are a couple of small changes and improvements, or I guess adjustments to the Mac version that you should be aware of. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in quickly. And once you're logged in, if you already have logged in onto a PC version or just any other computer, you will get this warning. This just lets you know that because of the current licensing system of SceneForge, you can only have it open on one computer at a time. So you can choose to either click no and it'll just log out, or click yes and it'll transfer your license to this computer, this active device at a time. So in this case, I'm going to click yes. And once you're in, you basically have the SceneForge interface that you'd be familiar with. So I'm going to open up this test project to go over some changes and adjustments. Make sure to click OK to allow access to your Finder system to access the folders. And once you're logged in, it'll load all the stuff, and yeah. Alright, so we have a project open. Now, if I were to go to the documentation website, as you can see here, there's actually a whole page dedicated to this Mac version, and it goes through the differences in this release. Now, because most Macs generally aren't technically as performance-heavy or as powerful as many Windows gaming PCs, you probably would want to look over this article for maximizing performance of the SceneForge editor. So just keep that in mind. That is not Mac-specific, but it's something that will be helpful. Additionally, the first time you open up the application, it will ask you for your keychain permissions. This is just so it can store your password on your device. No data gets read from the keychain. It's just to make it easier when logging in. And I'm going to go over these other changes in the SceneForge editor now. So everything works the same. It is running a little slow now just because I am recording. But if I were to go to storyboard mode for the first alteration in this Mac version, the way storyboards get exported is a little bit different. Because storyboards use the Chromium browser print to PDF functionality on your computer to export to PDF, you will need to manually point the application into the right direction. So on Windows, because it already has access to Microsoft Edge, which is a valid Chromium-based browser, you don't have to do this. But on Mac, because Safari, the default browser, isn't Chromium-based, you might have to. So if I click Configure Storyboard, you can see you can do the Chromium setup. Now, it will automatically search for Google Chrome, so if you have Google Chrome, it should point it in the right direction, but otherwise, you will need to just select this button to point it manually to your applications folder and to the Google Chrome application. And once that's done, you can close this. The next adjustment is that in shoot mode, on most Mac trackpads, the scrolling of these little scrollers here are quite sensitive. They're much more sensitive on trackpad, so this has been just adjusted to compensate for that difference. Now, the other thing is that over here on the right, where it says siphon output, on PC that actually is spout output. That's just because spout is the PC version of siphon and vice versa. Essentially do the same thing. So just keep that in mind. So siphon does the same thing as spout. You do have to have a siphon capable software to use, but it works the same way. Additionally, if I were to go to stage mode, and I'm going to bring in a chroma key surface, if I don't already have one, because the high-performance webcam plugin that I'm using on Windows does not work on Mac, if I were to go to Live Camera and set one up, so I'm going to open up the Live Camera menu here, and if I click the Setup Live Camera menu, you'll see it looks a little bit different than on the PC version. That's because it uses the default webcam on Mac, which works just a little bit different. So you can see I have my FaceTime camera here. You can select your input like you can on Mac, select your microphone, But rather than being able to select a resolution and frame rate that is detected, you do have to set it manually. So I'm going to set this to 1080 by 720. There you go. It looks a little bit wonky now just because I'm using it on my recording software as well as SceneForge. And then you can set the frame rate to 30 and then click finish. There we go. So now we have a camera running properly. It's a little choppy just because I am using it elsewhere, but yeah, it does work. So just keep in mind those minor differences. And you can still use the keying as you'd expect, so I can adjust the cutoff and everything to try to remove the background. It's not doing so great now. Alright, so that is basically everything that is changed between the Mac and PC version. Again, you can download this directly through the website, and it should automatically either detect what operating system you're using, or you can manually decide which one you want to download. They are both kept up to date to the same degree, so this Mac version will always be kept up to the latest as the PC version, and of course vice versa. The auto updater does work on Mac as well, so it should download the latest PKG installer when there is a new update, and so on and so forth. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email support@sceneforge.app, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.